we're gonna get started with the first dance.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can talk louder. Somebody once told me I had a voice for radio in a meeting, or maybe it was a face for radio. I can't really remember. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming, especially Rob and Lou and Lou's mother Marjorie, who we've gotten to meet, and Anthony for the moving ceremony today, and got to meet Myles' dad Gary last night for the first time, and so it's been great fun. I want to start off with a quote from the great philosopher Michael Scott. Webster's dictionary defines wedding as the fusing of two metals with a hot torch. Well, you know something? I think you two guys are metals, gold medals. So I remember, I'm going to have a few anecdotes about Kenzie, and of course it starts with her birth. I remember that like it was, almost yesterday. So we kind of spent most of the day at the hospital room at the new wing of El Camino. And then late in that Thursday afternoon, Mackenzie Lauren Froberg decides she's ready to come into the world. There's only one problem. For the second time in as many children, our OBGYN was nowhere to be found. So the nurse is a little bit anxiety, and then I'm listening and I hear an announcement out in the hallway. Is there an OBGYN in the house? If so, please come to this room that we happen to be in. And I kid you not, about 30 seconds later, a doctor walks in named Dr. Sunshine. And Dr. Sunshine proceeds to deliver our nice, healthy baby girl. So Kenzie's life has pretty much been sunshine from the beginning. Her smile would light up a room. I've got many, many pictures to prove it, and I think there's probably a whole mess more today also to add to that. Fast forward a couple of years, sock bumps. Does anybody else have sock bumps? We'd get Kenzie dressed in the morning before we were going to leave. We'd put her shoes on, her socks, and then we'd kind of leave her for a moment. We were getting the bag to head out the door. We'd come back to get her, and the shoes and socks were off because sock bumps. There was another incident that I had completely forgotten about. My friend Greg just reminded me about 30 minutes ago. When she was about 5 years old, we went up skiing, and we were staying at a cabin. And of course they have glassware. And the adults were drinking, adult beverages, happened to be Grand Marnier, and the kids were drinking apple juice. But all the glasses were the same. At one point, Kenzie comes in and she picks up glass and tosses back her apple juice, but it was Grand Marnier. And she's running around screaming, "I drank the wrong water, I drank the wrong water." Then, also about that same time, we were camping down in Big Basin, very beautiful, windy road, not unlike here. And we each discovered something about her. We were driving out of Big Basin Park, and then all of a sudden, she became very sick and threw up in the car. That's how we discovered that she had that she was sick on windy roads for car sickness. So I want you to notice three things. Number one, she didn't wear any socks today. Number two, there's no Grand Marnier being served. And number three, we're at the end of a very windy road. So that's nice, she's growing out of that. So back in 2016, just as Kenzie was starting graduate school, she comes and says, "Dad, I got a new boyfriend. His name is Myles Korea." I'm thinking, oh my God, he's got two of the names of my favorite jazz musicians of all time, Miles Davis and Chick Corea. I'm thinking this has got to be a positive sign right off the bat. And then of course, later it became kind of a quip in the family that he spells Miles like Miles Standish, not Miles Davis, but that's okay. But back to Myles. Over the 6 years, he's been at many family gatherings. He's been at cousins' weddings. He's been at lobster dinners. He's been the wedding of my son a few years ago, and just a ton of family events. But in 2020, I think, maybe 2020, I think. When did you get engaged? 2020. August 2020. So he calls up and he had some kind of a ruse that he had to come over and get something for Kenzie out of her room to bring to her. But it turns out it was to come and ask me for my daughter's hand in marriage, which was just astounding. So I've cried a couple of times today during their vows, but that was the first time he made me cry. The second time was today. So that just added to the respect that that I had been building my respect for Myles over the 4 years I had known him up until that point. I'd like to thank Rob and Lou for participating in all this and helping them plan the wedding. And I think you know how we feel about Myles, and this is just a testament to your raising our, I would say, future son-in-law, but I guess he's actually our son-in-law now, as of a couple hours ago, right? So, in closing, I want to talk a little bit, just a minute, about my wife, Kate, who some of you have met, some of you haven't. We met in the late 70s at UC Davis. I was just finishing up my undergrad, and she was just starting veterinary school on her path to becoming Dr. Kate Cameron. And just last month, we actually returned to the scene of that crime to attend her 40th vet school reunion. And this November, we'll celebrate our 38th wedding anniversary. And I want to say, I love you just as much today as I did that day 38 years ago in November. Kate and Mackenzie are alike in a lot of ways. And sometimes they grudgingly acknowledge it. Everybody else can see it, but I honestly think that's a good thing, because Kate's made Kenzie the woman, proud, confident, proud woman she is today.
Yeah.
In closing, I want to close with a slightly more serious quote. This one from Miss Manners. I suppose you've been told that your wedding day will be the happiest day of your life. Miss Manners sincerely hopes not. And the takeaway, of course, is there's going to be lots of better days ahead. So could we raise a toast to a happy couple? Have a glass.